It's 11:40 p.m., and you're standing in a bathroom with bad lighting, thumbnail and forefinger closing in on a red bump next to your nose. You've done this 1,000 times. The mirror's a little foggy from the shower you took 20 minutes ago. There's toothpaste dried in the sink, a towel on the floor you keep meaning to pick up, and that one bulb that's slightly too yellow. Nothing about this moment feels dangerous. It feels like Tuesday. It feels like nothing. There's no ambulance on standby. There's no warning label taped to your bathroom mirror. There's no group chat that pings you a heads up before you do this. There's just you, a pimple, and about 4 seconds of decision-making that, in an extremely small number of documented cases over the last 170 years, has ended with someone in a hospital bed fighting for their life. That's the thesis. Not pimples are dangerous, some watered-down mom advice version of this. One very specific triangle on your face is wired directly into your skull, and almost nobody standing in front of a mirror right now knows it. Everyone who's heard this story thinks the same thing. Pop a zit in the wrong spot, bacteria crawls into your brain, you're dead by Thursday. That's the version that goes viral. It's punchy, it's terrifying, it's shareable. It's also, according to the actual dermatologists who treat this stuff for a living, mostly wrong. Not fake, wrong in its confidence. So what's the real version? Why did doctors give a patch of skin near your nose a nickname usually reserved for minefields and war zones? And why, if the danger's this rare, does it keep showing up in medical case files nearly 2 centuries later?
Let's start with the anatomy, because this is where it gets genuinely strange. Picture a triangle, one point sitting at the bridge of your nose, the other two anchored at the corners of your mouth. Inside that shape, your veins don't behave like veins anywhere else on your body. Most of your blood vessels have one-way valves, tiny trapdoors that stop blood from flowing backward, forcing it in one direction, back toward the heart, no exceptions. The veins running through this triangle mostly skip that step. No trapdoors. Blood can move in either direction, whichever way the local pressure happens to push it. Which means if you pop a pimple and introduce bacteria into that small, sloppy wound, there's a genuine physical pathway for that infection to travel backward, upstream, through the veins, straight into a structure sitting behind your eye sockets called the cavernous sinus, a pooling point that drains blood directly out of the brain. Let that sit for a second.
And this is where the story stops being spooky bathroom mirror trivia and starts being actual medical history. This isn't some fresh discovery a dermatologist on TikTok stumbled onto for views last spring. Doctors were writing about blood clots forming in that exact structure, the cavernous sinus, as far back as 1852. Think about that stretch of time. Gas lamps, horse-drawn carriages, and somewhere in a hospital ward, a physician documenting the same grim pattern we're still talking about today. A small facial wound nobody thought twice about, an infection that shouldn't have mattered, and a patient who suddenly develops a fever, swelling around the eyes, drooping eyelids, and in the worst cases, a blood clot sitting directly against brain tissue. Before antibiotics existed, this condition was close to a guaranteed death sentence. Not risky, not elevated chance, guaranteed, which is completely wild.
And here's the one that actually reframes the whole thing for me. A study from 1937 went digging through a pile of these cases, trying to figure out where they were coming from. The answer? 61% of them traced back to something almost insultingly small. A boil on the upper part of the face. Not a car accident, not a battlefield wound, even though this era had plenty of those. A boil. The exact kind of thing you'd squeeze in a bathroom mirror at 11:40 at night without thinking twice. The exact kind of thing sitting on your face right now. Bacteria, pressure, and a straight valveless highway to the brain. 3 ingredients that, stacked together, used to kill people over what basically amounted to a bad breakout. Money, pride, paranoia, none of that mattered here. This wasn't about status or bad luck in the traditional sense. It was just biology being unreasonably, coldly efficient about exploiting a design flaw nobody asked for.
Now, here's where I want to yank you somewhere completely different for a second, because this pattern isn't unique to human anatomy. Forget faces entirely. Think about computer networks, specifically the ones built badly, the ones IT departments quietly dread. There's a concept in cybersecurity called a flat network. It means every device on the network can talk to every other device, with basically nothing in between them. No firewalls carving things into sections, no segmented zones, no choke points forcing traffic to slow down, get inspected, get denied. Security engineers hate flat networks because it means if one laptop in the accounting department picks up malware from a sketchy email attachment, there's nothing structurally stopping that infection from crawling straight into the servers running the entire company. One weak point, zero resistance, total access in minutes. That's exactly what's happening inside that triangle on your face. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Most of your body is segmented, in a sense. Valves, choke points, pressure gradients, one-way systems specifically built to slow infections down and buy your immune system time to mount a response. But that one triangular patch of skin between your eyebrows and your upper lip is a flat network. No valves, no resistance. A direct, low-friction route from a popped pimple straight to the drainage system of your actual brain. Your face has had an unpatched vulnerability zone sitting right in the middle of it for your entire life, and it's been there since before you had a face old enough to grow acne on it. Now for the part that actually stings, because this is where the story stops being about anatomy and starts being about fairness, or the total absence of it. Here's the injustice hiding inside all of this. Two people can do the exact same thing, pop the exact same kind of pimple in the exact same triangle on the exact same night, and walk away in completely different directions. One of them gets lucky. Mild redness, a small scab, forgotten in a week, never thought about again. The other develops swelling around the eye, a fever that won't break, blurred vision, and ends up on IV antibiotics in a hospital bed, fighting a blood clot sitting behind their own eye socket. Same wound, same bacteria exposure, same triangle. Wildly, unfairly different outcomes. And the deciding factor usually isn't discipline or hygiene or how careful someone was in the mirror that night. It's mostly luck. Which specific strain of bacteria happened to get in? How aggressively that particular immune system responds? Whether a doctor catches it in the first 6 hours or the first 6 days. We love stories where the reckless person gets punished and the careful person walks away clean. This isn't that story. This is a story where the dice roll, and some people just roll worse than others, through absolutely no fault of their own. So go back to that bathroom. Bad lighting, foggy mirror, 11:40 at night. That one bulb that's always slightly too yellow. Nothing about that moment has changed since we started. The triangle's still there. The flat network is still sitting on your face right now, valveless, wide open, exactly like it's been since the day you were born. Mostly harmless, occasionally not, and completely indifferent to how careful you think you're being tonight. The odds are still in your favor. They almost always are. But almost always is exactly the kind of phrase that keeps showing up in medical case files going all the way back to 1852, and it hasn't stopped showing up yet. So here's the question I actually want to leave you with, and I mean this one. If your own body has a design flaw like this, quietly sitting there since birth, doing nothing 99.99% of the time, do you actually want to know it's there? Does knowing change anything you do tonight, standing in front of your own mirror? Or is a little bit of ignorance the safer, saner move? Tell me what you'd pick down in the comments.